Welcome to Savoir Labs. I'm Jamie Goodyear. Are you having trouble with JAXB serialization in CXF? There is an alternative. It's called Aegis. Let's take a look at it in the lab. Let's open up our CXF kit and go directly to the samples folder. At the very top, you'll see we have an Aegis example. We'll open up this one and take a quick gander at the README. This is just going to tell us how to build the sample and run the server and client side, but doesn't really get into what it's doing here. So let's open up the POM and I'll try to explain what's going to happen in this project. First, it's going to define the profile for running a server side and for running the client side. Not much going on here, it's just standard exec Maven plugin. Here are the parts that we really are interested in though. We have the JAXB front-end jar, we have a data binding for Aegis, and a HTTP transport. We also have a Jetty dependency here. That's for running the demo, so don't worry too much about that part. The important part here is the Aegis data binding. We're going to see this now in use on the client and server side. On the server side is where we'll actually see the Aegis parts. So let's take a look at the demo. In here we have a hello world interface. It has two methods. One, say hi to some text string, and a get document. That document is going to be your XML. The implementation of it is going to have a document builder that will be able to create a document based on some hard-coded value. It's going to be a caret, and that carets are roots. Nothing too much to this, and that's going to be on our get document. And then the say hi method, it's just going to take whatever text comes in and say hello to that text. The server implementation is where things get a little more interesting. There's a main method that's just going to open up a server and start things. But inside of that start server, that's where we'll see our implementation of Hello World and a server factory bean. Server factory bean is going to instantiate the Hello World class. That's our interface. Set or bind an address, in our case, port 9000 hello. It'll connect that to the Hello World implementation. And then we're going to set the data binding to Aegis data binding and then create that service and allow it to run. The important part here is that there's an Aegis data binding. The part that's not clear here is, well, where does the Aegis mappings occur? That happens within the same folder as our code. So you'll see here we have Java demo HW server. We have a hello world.aegis XML. That aegis.xml has to be part of the XML binding file. This file will be read from the class path, and it will tell the system, hey, here's the mappings that I wanted to use. This is really, really neat because you're not having to annotate the code, especially in the case where you may not have access to that code to make annotations to it or modify that code. This is where this becomes really useful because you're doing external to the code. And you can say, hey, here's one particular method, and you can tell its parameter. You can set it to nullable. You can set it to a particular value. That is its purpose. On the client side, we set up a standard client proxy factory. We'll say where we want to bind it to. And in our case here, we're hard coding into it. Then we want to pass along a couple of parameters. In our case of say hi, we'll just send in whatever the username is so that the other side of the system can read it. And we're going to also say get that document and just print it to the terminal. Now that we reviewed the code, let's run the demo. On the left-hand side of the screen, we're going to run the server profile. When we start that up, we'll see that we instantiate the Hello World interface and its implementation, and we bind to port 9000 hello. And we can also note in here that we see the HTTP 1.1 protocol is being used and that our server is ready. On the right-hand side of the screen, we are going to run the client profile, which is going to send in the hello text, and then we'll get a response printed back from the service, and then we'll also see the value of the get document call. So taking a quick look over here, what we can see is that we did the invoke say hi. We can say the say hi was called on the server side. We see the response was hello J Goodyear, my username, and the content of the XML file, which was just caret, and the carets are roots. And with that, that's the end of our in-kit demo. For more information on using Aegis data binding, we'll put in the show notes links to the CXF documentation. If you have any more comments, please leave them below. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.